We're Jess and Miles. In 2019, we quit our jobs to pursue a dream of long-term travel around the world. After traveling for 6 months, we were brought back to the U.S. due to COVID-19. We are back on the road here in the United States. We have spent the past couple of weeks in Washington and are currently backcountry camping in the Enchantments. We are halfway through with this amazing adventure and will be spending the next 3 days exploring the beautiful Core Enchantments Zone. It is day 3 for us on our Enchantments through hike. We just made it over Aasgard Pass yesterday and we camped right here at Isolation Lake last night. We are just now scratching the surface of the Core Enchantment Zone and we plan to head further in today. We had breakfast, got all packed up, and now we're about to hit the trail.
Ready for day 3 on the trail. It's about 9:30 and we've only got a couple of miles to where we're hoping to camp tonight. We're looking to find a good place somewhere around Perfection Lake. I gotta be honest, I can't see how it could get much better than it is up here, but I know there are a lot of lakes still left to be seen, and I am really excited for today.
We've made our way around Isolation and Tranquil lakes and we're heading into the Middle Enchantment Basin today. The good news is we did all of our uphill on the first 2 days, so it's going to be all downhill from here for the next 3 days. It seriously feels like we have entered into a fairy tale land. I mean, we've entered into Larch Wonderland, first of all, and then we have these rugged mountain peaks all around us, and then small lakes and ponds everywhere we look. This is unbelievable. We've just made it to Crystal Lake down below us, and this view is insane. There are larches dotting this mountain just when I think it can't get any better. It just does.
It really does. And this section marks where we'll be heading down into the Middle Basin.
I think we maybe have made it about a half a mile at this point because I keep stopping like every 15 feet to take photos.
And this is a one-way trek, so we definitely want to take our time and make sure we're enjoying it up here because we're not coming back this way. We're dropping down into the Middle Basin now, and I think we should be getting our first views of Inspiration Lake in just a second. It really is incredible to me just how much beauty is packed into such a small place. We've just made it to Inspiration Lake, and I feel like any one of these lakes we've seen already would be worth a 10-mile hike all by themselves, and they're all within a couple of miles of each other, and I just can't wait to keep going.
Now it's time to try and find a campsite, either somewhere around here or Perfection Lake, which is just a little bit further, and I'm finding it hard to believe that we could go wrong either way.
Looks a little wobbly.
We have found our home for the night. We are right above Perfection Lake. We have views of both Prusik Peak and McClellan Peak. We have a stream right next to our site so we can filter water easily. This really is perfect. We're all fueled up. We're gonna walk around the lakes a little bit and then do a short side hike up to Prusik Pass.
We're starting along Inspiration Lake, and it feels good to be exploring without our big packs on. I can't believe we get to call this area home for the night.
We have just cut back across to the top of Perfection Lake and we are headed up that way.
It's less than a half a mile up here, but this trail goes straight up the pass. So I know we said we weren't going to be doing any more uphill, but not exactly true.
It's a lot steeper than I was expecting. But even these views back towards Perfection Lake and the Upper Enchantments are amazing. It's keeping me going.
It was pretty hazy the first day when we were hiking in, but ever since we've been in the Core Enchantment Zone, we have had crystal blue skies, but there is definitely some smoke haze in both directions outside of this wilderness area. We feel so fortunate to have blue skies. We're not sure how long it's gonna last, but we're certainly enjoying it while it does.
And we have a view down to Shield Lake behind me, which is pretty special because it's not actually a lake that we get to see on the through hike. And then what has to be one of my favorites so far is the view back down on Perfection Lake in the Upper Enchantments Zone. It is just absolutely beautiful. I know I'm saying that about everything, but I have no words really. I mean, it's magical, really. So you can actually see back to Inspiration Lake from up here too. So you have Perfection Lake right here, Inspiration Lake right there. That's the Middle Enchantment Zone, and then the Upper Enchantment Zone is up above. That's where we came from today. Oh, and larches.
So many larches.
What did I call it earlier? Wonderland of larches. Miles has made fun of me for that ever since I said it, and he actually admitted just on this trail that it really is a wonderland.
They're not always this golden color. They're usually green.
They're not. Now we are in search of a gnome tarn.
We've got to take advantage of coming all the way up here. Gnome Tarn is right on the other side of this ridge. We're not sure how to get there, but it can't be too hard. It's on Maps.me. We've just come up to the top of the ridge right next to the pass, and this might be my favorite view of the hike so far. Prusik Peak feels so close you can touch it, and it's the only place we've been so far where you have a view into all three basins.
This is also our first view down to the lower basin. We can see Lake Vivian and Leprechaun Lake, where we'll be heading tomorrow.
And there's Gnome Tarn right there, but we're gonna go ahead and head back to camp and get our hammocks. That's a Whoville Christmas tree that wants to participate in fall, if I have ever seen one.
I think it's the perfect description. Since our campsite has such a great view of Perfection Lake, we have come down to Inspiration Lake to have dinner and hang out. But first things first, we are jumping in. We wanted to do this yesterday and then we chickened out after we felt the water, but now we're 3 days in with no shower, so it's necessary.
Ready?
Oh my God.
1, 2, 3. How was it?
I still am having a hard time catching my breath. Oh my gosh.
Here's a towel.
We're mixing it up from our ramen bombs that we've had the past couple of nights, and we're doing a couple of these dehydrated meals, which we really like, but they're about $12 a piece, which is more than the cost of all 6 of our ramen bombs combined. But it's still a really nice treat for tonight.
This 3-bean chili mac was probably our favorite dehydrated meal when we camped in the Sawtooths, so I'm glad this is the one we brought on this trip. It was really good.
We've got hot chocolate to finish the night.
The sun has completely set, so it's time to pack up and head back to our camp. We had a beautiful sunrise over Perfection Lake, and now it's time for round 3 of oatmeal. This stuff is good.
Well, we had a bit of a mishap last night. At some point, my sleeping mat got a hole in it, so I woke up on the ground about halfway through the night. This does come with a patch kit, so we're gonna try that out.
It was a really small hole. It took a while to deflate, so on one hand that's good, on the other hand it might be really hard to find.
Also, the patch kit says to let it dry for 24 hours, so that's not really ideal. We don't have 24 hours for that.
We'll see if we can't make it work. Let's find this hole. Well, we tried soap and water, we tried listening and looking for it. We could not find any semblance of a hole. We thought we might have found something, but it didn't make any bubbles, so we don't want to waste our time with a patch. It honestly stays inflated for about 2 hours, and I don't think either of us have gotten more than 2 hours of sleep straight anyway, so I think we're just gonna deal with it tonight and figure it out after the trip's over.
I'm gonna miss this place. But it's time to head to the Lower Enchantments.
We honestly only have another couple miles to Vivian Lake where we intend to camp tonight, but we refuse to leave the core zone until it's absolutely necessary, so we're gonna leave the real hard hike for our last day out. We've made our way to the other side of Perfection Lake, and it's another clear blue sky day. And I know Jess joked about the Larch Wonderland yesterday, but this is really like a storybook through here with the red on the hillside and the yellow from the trees.
That is our camp spot, right there.
Right above that waterfall to the right. Oh.
That's a great spot.
I'm gonna remember that for a long time.
These are our final views of Perfection Lake. We're making our way to Sprite Lake here in just a second, which we believe is the final lake in the Middle Basin.
Making it very far.
It's just too beautiful.
It's hard to leave this lake.
Yeah.
We're making our way down into the lower basin from Sprite Lake. I'm really glad we camped where we did at Perfection Lake last night, but we did hear that Sprite Lake would be a good option as well. I can definitely see why, but honestly, I don't think you can go wrong anywhere here in the core.
Also, I'm quite convinced that the people who got to name this place and all of the mountains and the lakes came here in the fall when these larches were bright yellow.
For sure. We've just made it to Leprechaun Lake, and the official campsite is just right here off the trail, with some pretty amazing views of the lake, so it's hard to pass up. But we do want to keep going because it's pretty early, and we're going to check out Vivian Lake as well.
We didn't quite make it to Vivian Lake, but we have found a spot that we just cannot pass up. It is right off an arm of Leprechaun Lake. We have views of both Prusik Peak, which I was really wanting for sunrise tomorrow morning, and then McClellan is back this way. This spot is awesome.
We're all set up and we're gonna head to Lake Vivian for lunch since we're not camping there. And I am really glad we found this place off the main trail because it's Saturday and the day hikers are out in full force. And I can't blame them because it's a beautiful day.
We mentioned on day 2 that the mountain goats up here are really fond of human pee. So they actually have toilets set up. Let's go check one out. Not a bad view. They have also had one of these set up at nearly every lake, I believe. So that's pretty nice.
We have found a nice shaded spot for lunch overlooking Lake Vivian. Can't ask for anything better than this. Oh man, I'm not gonna have much left tomorrow. It's not quite a burrito.
This is our best play on like a peanut butter and honey and banana sandwich that we could come up with.
Without bread.
Without bread and for 5 days on the trail. It does the job. Oh, there's a bee. Ooh, he wants the honey.
Lunch was a success, but I've got a hammock calling my name, so we're headed back to camp. Unless Jess convinces me that we should go to Gnome Tarn, that we were above yesterday and could easily have hiked down to. And now she's like, maybe we'll go back up there to Gnome Tarn.
I know it's pretty close to Leprechaun Lake, so I just want to see if it would be relatively easy to get to.
I just heard one of the day hikers say down at the bottom of Lake Vivian that is halfway. So we are definitely leaving the longest day for the last day.
It's true. And this was all by design.
Worth it. This wasn't an accident.
No, it wasn't an accident. So maybe Gnome Tarn, maybe not, but we're going back to camp either way. We're gonna relax and enjoy these amazing views on our last full day. We're thinking Gnome Tarn is way up over that ridge, so we're just gonna relax.
We got to see it yesterday.
We did get to see it, but from the wrong view. The view is back to Prusik Peak. So anyways, if you do want to see, or if you do want to go down to Nome Tarn and you go up to Prusik Pass, I would recommend going down from there versus trying to go up from here. Just my thoughts.
So we're just gonna relax in our hammocks instead.
This blue sky looks fake.
I know, it really does.
So after relaxing in our hammocks for a little bit, we explored the area and found a great place for dinner out here on Leprechaun Lake. And it is so peaceful. I'm pretty sure we have this entire lake to ourselves. We saw one group of 8 people that were going down to Snow Lake to camp, and since then we haven't seen anybody.
That is so crazy. I really was not expecting that for a Saturday night.
And there's nearly a mirror reflection on this lake of Prusik Peaks right here in front of us.
Tonight we are having our final round of ramen bombs. And surprisingly, I have not gotten tired of these yet. We are mixing it up a bit. We are adding salmon tonight instead of tuna. Ooh, salmon's got a kick too.
Is it good?
It is good, I like it.
This really is a special place, and I'm so glad we got to camp in the upper, middle, and lower basins here in the Core Enchantments Zone. It is gonna make for a really long day tomorrow, but it was totally worth it, and we're not even close to done. We have at least 3 more lakes to see on the way back to the car tomorrow.
Ready to go day 5. It is our final day in the enchantments, and like Miles mentioned yesterday, we have a very long way to go today. It's going to be about 10 miles with over a mile of elevation loss. I think we're going to be descending somewhere around 5,400 feet, so it's definitely going to be a tough day. And apparently there's even some sketchy parts between now and Snow Lakes, but we're all packed up and ready to hit the trail.
It was a super early morning this morning. It's just before 8. We got up before the sun to start getting packed up and have breakfast. And it was definitely our coldest night last night. The pond by our tent froze over, but I'm glad to already be on the trail so we can start warming up. This downhill's no joke. They've got rebar into the rock right here.
Hopefully that was the worst part. We have made it down to the far side of Lake Vivian. We actually overheard a day hiker yesterday saying this is the halfway point of the entire through hike. So we have now made it halfway on day 5.
So Lake Vivian is the last lake in the core zone. So next up will be the Snow Lakes, but I think they're a little over 1.5 miles away, and I think we still have a fair amount of steep decline to go. This was dropping quick up at the top, but it's still dropping quick down here in the trees too.
I gotta be honest, there are parts of this that are just as bad as Aasgard Pass.
All right, Jess, what are you most excited for once we're done?
A shower first, and then a warm bed tonight. And then third is a beer and a burger in Leavenworth.
Ooh, I think a beer and a brat in Leavenworth might be what I'm most excited about.
Really, number 1?
No, a shower. For sure a shower.
It's not quite going to go in that order though.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately for the other restaurant patrons, at least. We're coming up to Snow Lakes now. That descent was no joke, so we're gonna find a spot to take a break and have a snack. So that took us a little under 2 hours to get down here to the upper Snow Lake. And I don't think we did very much mileage-wise. I think it was about 1.5 miles, but that was nearly 2,000 feet that we just dropped. So that was a pretty serious descent and definitely some sketchy spots.
For sure.
But I do think most of the sketchy areas are done with at this point, I hope. So I'm really happy about that.
And we're now officially in the Snow Lakes zone, and it looks like a popular spot to camp is on the north end of this lake because it gives you the shortest access into the core zone, and it has another incredible mountain view on another beautiful lake here in the Enchantments. We're back on the trail, and we still have lower Snow Lakes and not a lake to come, and we still have about 3,500 feet of elevation loss and 8.5 miles to go. Hopefully we can do those miles in a quicker pace. So we just crossed over the intersection between lower and upper Snow Lakes, and not a lake, here we come. Making good progress on the flat areas, but I think there's another descent coming up. Shouldn't be as bad as the one we did before.
We have just come back out of the trees and now have a really awesome view overlooking Nada Lake, and our car is somewhere very far down that valley. We have made it down and around to the end of Nada Lake. From what we understand, it's going to be pretty uneventful from here, just through the trees. We have 5.6 miles back to the car, and then we'll see you in Leavenworth. We have made it to Leavenworth. This is an adorable Bavarian-themed town that's only about 10 minutes from the Snow Lakes trailhead where we just ended our hike. The last part of the hike just followed down the valley, mostly in the trees. It was honestly pretty tough. There were way more switchbacks than I would have preferred, and we could see the car for the last mile or so that was definitely a mind game. In total, the hike is around 20 miles, and from the Colchuck Lake trailhead where we started, it was 4,400 feet of elevation gain on the way up, and then 6,400 feet of loss on the way down. So no matter which trailhead you start from, you are putting a lot of effort into getting into the core zone. But that really makes it all the more special, and it is unbelievable how much beauty is in such a condensed area. We do feel so lucky to have gotten a core permit, but no matter how you see it, whether it's a day hike or one of the other overnight permits, to say it's worth the effort is a serious understatement. The puddle by our tent froze over last night.
And we have 40-degree sleeping bags.
That worked well.
Check out this crazy water cannon. I think it's gonna take some water pressure like that to get me properly clean after these 5 days. We have decided that this tree most definitely comes to life every night. The gnarly twisty branches, it's got arms, they look like they're on fire.